All right, well, it is noon, so I'm going to get started. Welcome, everyone. This is the Customer Relations 101 webinar with Yvonne Brady from Johnson Insurance. My name is Marjorie Brands, and I'm the managing, or actually co-managing director of the School for Social Entrepreneurs. I apologize if you do not see my face. I normally use a video on these webinars, but for some reason my video function has turned off and I cannot figure out how to turn it back on. So you will just have a faceless screen and have slides. But I think many of the people on this call that I can tell we have actually already met. If this is your first time to the School for Social Entrepreneurs, welcome. We are thrilled to see you here today. And if it is you're coming back, you've been a former student and are coming back, well, welcome back again. I also want to mention that this webinar is being co-hosted by Johnson Insurance, which is the direct-to-consumer business of RSA Insurance. And RSA Insurance, or RSA Canada, is a very large insurance company, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about RSA in a moment. But first, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items. So if you enjoy this webinar and would like to attend future webinars or other kinds of workshops, please go to our website, which is www.the-sse.ca. You can also type in ssceontario.org, that also works. And then if you click on the About Us link at the top left, you will find, actually that is a mistake. It should be circling courses, not About Us, so I apologize for that. You can also just always on our front page, if you look at the part, it says Lean into the Future Workshops to Help Do-Gooders Be More Effective. If you click on the link Learn More, it will take you to all of the workshops that we have offered. The other way to learn about things going on at SSE, including workshops and events and opportunities and reading inspirational stories, is to get our newsletter. So if you click on the newsletter link on the top right of the screen, you will find the subscription link there. For the call logistics, if you are on your computer, you're listening in using your computer speaker system by default. But if you prefer to join over the phone, all you need to do is click on the Join Audio button on the bottom left of your screen and select Join by Phone, and the dial-in information will be displayed. You'll also have an opportunity to ask questions during the Q&A by texting your questions in the chat box on the screen. And feel free to send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We'll just collect these and address them when we have our Q&A session. If you are on the phone, your sound is on mute by default, but if you press *9 during the Q&A session, you'll be able to unmute yourself, and pressing *6 will allow you to resume the mute. So again, it's *9 for unmute and *6 for mute. And then in case you're wondering, we will be sharing the PowerPoint presentation for today's session by email, so you can feel free to just sit back, relax, and listen, and not feel like you have to take furious notes. So I'd now like to just introduce the sponsor of today's webinar, which is Johnson Insurance, which again is the direct-to-consumer business of RSA Canada. RSA Canada is a group of insurance companies that includes Royal and Sun Alliance Insurance Company, and the Johnson Corporation and its affiliates include RSA Travel Insurance, which operates as RSA Travel Insurance Agency in British Columbia. And then there are actually a very long list of other insurance companies that are associated with RSA, including Canadian Northern Shield Insurance, a Western Assurance Company, Ascentus, Quebec Assurance Company. So RSA is maybe not a name that you would know at sort of at a household level, but it is operating at a household level through its affiliates. RSA is a very generous sponsor to SSE in Canada and in the UK. In addition to doing webinars like this, their staff regularly mentor and coach SSE students, host Dragon's Dens, and we're thrilled they can bring their core professional expertise to the sector. So we've had a number of webinars with RSA, and Yvonne, this is actually not your first time doing this, so we're really thrilled to have you back. And let me just tell you a little bit about Yvonne. Yvonne has over 20 years of experience in various spaces in the P&C insurance industry, so that means property and casualty. She is currently a home and auto consultant at Johnson Insurance and has had previous roles in insurance. But, you know, Yvonne, like many of you, she may be working a job, but she also has a very, very well-developed sense of social contribution. She's an active member of the Rotary Club of Whitby Sunrise, who support many not-for-profit organizations. She is leader of the corporate responsibility team for Johnson Insurance Ontario and instructor of insurance for the IIC and community colleges. Yvonne has a business BA diploma, a CIP designation in insurance, and she's a certified adult trainer. So, Yvonne, you last time gave us some really fabulous insight into customer relations, and I'm really excited to invite you back, and we want to hear what you have to say this time. So at this point, I'd like to stop sharing my screen, and you can take over and start your presentation.
Great. Thank you so much, Marjorie. I am absolutely thrilled to be back here to do a second round and share my passion and my experience and hopefully help others be able to grow into various spaces with a little bit of background. So again, this presentation is more soft skills related versus technical that you may have seen in the past, although there are a couple of technical components. And my biggest hope for today is that each and every one of you take away a few lessons to help build your own success as you travel ahead in your journey, whether it's a B2B operation or a direct customer. I'm grateful to be able to share a whole bunch of really amazing examples with you today. And just firstly, I'd like to acknowledge one of my colleagues who really, truly did help me put this presentation together. She is incredibly more savvy in this space than I am. And I think, you know, the first piece of advice moving forward with that is always be grateful for those who actually help you build your business in different spaces with different areas of expertise. So thank you so much to Diane for doing this for me. So let's get started. Here's our agenda for today. So we're going to look at a few things. The customer, again, is your most valuable asset. We're going to talk about acquisition, the beginning of your customer journey. So that's acquiring and the costs associated with getting those customers through your journey. Retention, this is by far the ultimate goal, and we'll chat about why later. The different customer, so I like to phrase the different customer as your learning opportunity as you grow your business. And again, the community giving back piece, which is near and dear to my heart, as Marjorie had attested to. And then just some words of experience that hopefully I can pass along to you, and you can use these in your day-to-day. So to start off, we're going to look at the customer again, which is your most valuable asset. And just a little insight. So I started my customer journey at the age of 18. I took a role on a cruise ship for a couple of years. So I very quickly had jumped into an environment where building relationships with a diverse group of people of lifestyles, cultures, and languages with not only our passengers, but our crew members, and very quickly learned to adapt to each customer each week differently. Hence why we land on this slide with respect to what does your customer look like. And the key word here is your customer, because I'm sure each and every one of you is diverse in your business niches. So it's important to know what your customer looks like, not necessarily what the other guys does. So we use in our world a KYC platform, which is as simple as know your customer. And again, it is one of the key early stages of your customer journey. And I would ask yourselves this question: how well do you know your customer? So food for thought for you to kind of take a couple of notes when you have some downtime. Here's how the KYC platform and customer relations really come into play, and how you can close the gap on knowing what your customer is. So again, take a few minutes and identify who your customer is. What is their demographic? What is their geography? What sector are you looking to grow your business in? And what personal values do you think your customer has? So when we talk about demographics, we talk about, are you dealing with a 50 plus demographic, maybe a millennial demographic? GTA, geography. Are you looking at GTA sales and revenue for your business, or are you looking at a rural customer? Each of those two customers has very different needs. Sector. Is your particular service or product geared towards, say, healthcare, retirees, educators, whatever that sector space looks like? It's important to know and educate yourself about that sector. And again, what are their personal values? What's important to them? And I think the key word here is what's important to them, not necessarily to yourself, but what's important to them. Your customer will look to you for not only the sales and service of your product, but they're also going to look to you for your problem-solving skills. So coming up with resolutions or options to possibly a little hiccup in the sales journey. Their preferred channels of marketing. So interestingly enough, as we evolve in society, there are many people who choose to purchase online, shop online, research online. But there is still a very large channel of individuals who really like the tangible paper piece. So again, going back to knowing your customer is going to dictate what that preferred channel of marketing is going to be. Friendliness, empathy. I was taught very early on in my career that we practice empathy on a regular basis, not necessarily sympathy, but empathy. Knowledge can be as broad as things like knowing your industry, knowing your sector, knowing your products, knowing your environment. It allows you to position your product or service in a special market so that you can grow your business. And again, I'm a huge advocate for options, and it is as simple as things like when you go to a restaurant and you're having your coffee and the service staff saying to you, would you like one cream or two? Instead of them just bringing you one. It's those very simple things that actually do resonate from a service perspective. Let's talk about 5 myths about customer needs. So how you can help yourself understand your customer and build on that customer experience. So again, it's about not getting wound up in this mindset. It requires you to build on the positive. From some platforms, some with these particular myths. So, some of the myths out there is customers don't know what they need. And I can assure you they absolutely do. So by changing your mindset, it's about helping them understand you versus you understanding them. Customers struggle to articulate their needs. You need to figure out how to articulate. And again, that is going to be so unique to each customer. Customer needs change quickly. Some do, some don't. So the myth is that they change quickly. Some are get very complacent in their buying strategies. That necessarily isn't true. Customers won't know what they see or what they need until they see it. You can take your product and service and help your customer feel your passion and the benefits of your product or service, and that is entirely up to you. So this is a myth. It's impossible to know all your customers need. It's not really. If you know your customer, KYC, it is exceptionally possible to know all of that customer's needs. So keeping your customer informed. Performing periodic reviews with your customer, not just on the sale. This particular sentence is so incredibly important. When you close the door on your customer, when the sale has been closed, you actually close the option on your retention model, which we will talk about. Providing product updates, again, it's about personalizing any kind of update. So you may have a customer who has bought a particular product and maybe in a large bulk. You need to know what that customer has given to you. So when you provide a product update, you're not talking about something that is completely irrelevant to what they had previously purchased. Industry changes. So a lot of them going on in our world in the insurance space, as everybody knows. But this industry, being aware of what's going on in your industry or sector will keep you abreast of changes, evolutions, marketing strategies. It will help you evolve into where you want to be positioned. Honesty, integrity, this by far is the absolute most important thing to me. Be true to yourself. So you need to keep your integrity in place. For example, if it's a product or service and you've had a customer come to you for a product or service, but it doesn't really fit into what you can offer, but you really want to make that sale, it's important to stay true to yourself and let them know that you may not have the best product to suit their needs, but you always have a referral. So by creating this gateway of partner and community in your space, you learn to know who these partners are. And by knowing that, you can actually give them the referral, and they'll give you back that referral when they have a customer come to them about something where maybe they're not the best position. So honesty and integrity is about staying true to yourself and really in lieu of closing a sale just because, it's really about making sure the customer has the best product possible to suit their individual needs. Here's a CRM. So I hope everybody has some sort of CRM system that will help in the customer journey. So when we look at the customer lifestyle and how that CRM is positioned, so CRM, customer relationship management, is a term that refers to practices, strategies, and technologies that companies use to manage, analyze customer interactions, data, throughout this entire life cycle that you see on the opposite side of the screen. And again, it's really about building the relationship. So if you're fortunate enough to grow your business to a position where you need to constantly refer back to that customer, that purchase, that note, that meeting, a CRM system will absolutely be, without question, your best friend. So when we look at the customer life cycle, we're looking at awareness. So again, what is your marketing platform? How are you going to help your customer discover your product or service? And that could be a variety of spaces. It could be an e-space, it could be a networking space, it could be strictly a referral platform that is incredibly unique to your business. Knowledge, customers are constantly looking at how they can acquire more knowledge. And I think for the most part in our digital environment, this is where everybody's going. We go to the internet and Google just about everything in our life as we go on the search for that particular service or product we're looking for. Consideration. One of the biggest things in our current digital environment is to really consider those online referrals or reviews. So the only person that's going to enhance your value proposition in that space is you, and that's by providing that great service and building on that customer relationship. Again, the selection, this is where your customer will decide what to buy. But I think the most important piece of this particular slide, as I mentioned before, is stages 6 and 7. Retention and advocacy. When I talk to advocacy, your biggest fan, these people would be your biggest fan and your referral moving forward in your business. So let's talk about just quickly some of the benefits of a CRM system. And keep in mind, a CRM system can be as simple as an Excel spreadsheet. And Marjorie, if you can jump in, I know that SSE has a few customer relationship management systems referrals for your members, and I'm not quite sure who they are, but please elaborate.
Yeah, well, we personally use Salesforce, which is a very, very powerful tool. It is open, it is free to registered charities. You do have to apply, but we have received that designation. And Zoho is also another one. I believe Zoho is free, and it's a little simpler. And my sense is it's probably more suited to the smaller social enterprise and smaller social business, but both are great tools.
Great. Thanks so much, Marjorie. Here at Johnson Insurance, we do use Salesforce as well, and it is an incredible tool that has really enhanced our business position in our sector. Again, it improves relationships with existing relationships. And you might ask yourself, well, why is that? This allows us to keep notes on every meeting, every phone call, every email that has gone back and forth between the customer and the business. And again, should I not be around because I might be fortunate enough to win the lottery, this allows my successor to know exactly what stage that customer is in that customer journey. It assists with finding new prospects. So it's a database where we enter in any new prospects that we come across. It's a shared database amongst myself and my colleagues, so that we actually have the ability to see what is going on, or in our pipeline, as we fondly refer to it as. But it's an open venue for our entire team. Aims to winning back former customers. So there may have been a situation where you've lost a customer, and regretfully it does happen. But as we know our industry, KYC, know our customer, it also allows us to track who we've lost, and find a good position or abeyance the situation where we can go back and kind of touch base with them again. It's valuable feedback for our leadership team, internal team benefits, even in the smaller organizations. So for example, you may be the owner of a business and you're fortunate enough to have a few staff members. And if they should happen to get that phone call from that customer and not really sure kind of where they're at in that customer journey, they can actually refer to this database. Sharing of ideas, it tracks ROI, so that's your return on your investment. And it also tracks your CAC, which we'll talk about in a second. And your CAC is your customer acquisition cost. It gives increased accountability, because if you're abeyance to follow up on a particular event, the CRM system will do that for you. And it does actually keep the long-term records of your client relationships as you grow your business. Let's talk about acquisition, which is actually the beginning of the customer journey. So we just talked about CAC. This is a great formula. So I encourage everybody to kind of take a few minutes. This would be another opportunity for you to take a few minutes and set it aside. So aside from sitting down and really kind of getting to know your customer, KYC, here's another opportunity to kind of drill this down. So 3 items included in your customer acquisition cost: your time, which is valuable, your hard marketing costs, advertising costs or expenses, and your soft costs. So when we look, your time is valuable. It's invested behind the scenes doing the day-to-day operation. So you might say to yourself, how much is it costing me to do my accounting? How much is it costing me to do my graphic design? How much is it costing me to reach out to somebody to do my graphic design and coordinate all those efforts, or my accounting come tax time? So your time is valuable, and it's difficult to put a dollar figure on that. But again, that's going to be unique to your business. So I encourage you to think about what that looks like for you. Your hard marketing costs are your quantitative expenses. So these are actually the bills and the invoices that you get into your business for things like print material, brochures. It could be your accountant, your tax guy. So these are quantitative expenses that most people just truly focus on. They just look at the hard costs as opposed to, say, your soft costs. So your soft costs are your qualitative, and this is the time invested in things like networking or dealing with the customer. So say you spend a half an hour on the phone with a customer. What does that look like while you're trying to make that customer close that sale? Networking I'm a huge advocate for networking, but networking in the right spaces. It has to be the right use of your time. Otherwise, your time is valuable, increases with the customer acquisition costs. So when you really sit down and think about what all these expenses are, you add up all the costs spent on acquiring that customer by the number of customers acquired in that period that the money was spent. So kind of like a tax year. And then you'll find out what your CAC is. So a little example down below: if a company spent $100 on marketing in that year and got 100 customers in that very same year, then their CAC, their customer acquisition cost, is $1. Great investment in your time now so that you can manage this going forward, because it can be overwhelming when you're looking at the cost of acquiring your customers. So we look at we look at a little model of what does your customer acquisition look like, and what is the best return on your investment, or the ROI on your CAC. Which of all of the above has the lower acquisition cost? And each of these require an element of customer relations. So, we look at advertising, for example, and you need to know where you're advertising, who you're advertising to. Is that your customer? And is that a good investment of your money? Cold calling, networking, again, a huge advocate. E-marketing and social media, an amazing, amazing platform to start sharing your message. But there are costs involved, and primarily time. You look at the social media platform with Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. All those items have not necessarily a software cost attached to it, but in order for you to acquire those customers in that space, it's your time, because you have to be right on top of it. The best return on your investment, going back to the first bullet point, by far is referrals. So ask yourself, what do I need to do to make sure that every customer experience in the customer journey generates those referrals? Because you know what? There is very little customer acquisition cost on referrals. They're coming to you. It's a great opportunity to grow your business, and by far the best investment on your money. Retention, another passion of mine. It takes months to find a customer and only seconds to lose it. When you go back to the customer acquisition costs that you're incurring, think about all the time and money invested in getting that first customer through the door, and then you lose them within seconds from a bad experience. So your retention really is your ultimate goal. So organizations that shift their focus to customer retention often find it to be a more efficient process. It is more sustainable business model and is truly key to sustainable growth. If you think about it this simply, you've spent all this money getting customers in the door, including all your soft costs, and then you're losing them out the back door. And it's going to cost you more to get new ones in the front door. So if you can keep your customers in your business portfolio, it's going to cost you less money in acquisition costs. So increase in retention results, increase your year-end results by 25 to 95%. And it is a true stat. So for example, as an organization, our goal, and we set a goal, is to set our retention goal. So we set a retention goal at 95%. And when we see that sliding, because we track and monitor it on a weekly basis, when we see that sliding, we automatically look at what we're not doing right so we can meet that customer retention goal. Interesting stat on the next little sticky note: converting an existing customer to a repeat customer has a success rate of 60 to 70% if you look after your customers after that sale is made. When you look at the opposing sticky note, converting a new lead only has a 5 to 20% success rate. So you ask yourself, where do I want to be in this business model? So when we talk about retention, it would be a great idea if you set a retention goal for your business. What does that look like? So what are your retention goals? Have you ever thought about what that looks like? So CX is an acronym that we use for the customer experience and why you need to improve your customer experience. So the top 3 reasons why businesses proactively manage and invest in the customer experience. And it is an investment. It's a bigger investment of your time. To improve customer retention, improve customer satisfaction, which is going to ultimately equal retention, and increase cross-selling and upselling. This is often a space where people don't spend a lot of time in. So when you're looking at your portfolio of products or services, you say to yourself, how can I develop and grow that business by cross-selling and upselling? Just a quick example for us. If we can cross-sell or upsell you on multi-lines of insurance products, you're probably going to stay with us, providing we've given you the right customer service. Another interesting stat, and this is one I learned very, very early on in my career, is 78% of your marketing budget, which we talked about in the acquisition cost, your hard costs, goes back into getting the customer you already had. So if you know your customer and you've spent the time and money to acquire that customer and you earned them, and they go out the back door, you're going to re-spend another 78% of your marketing budget to get that very same customer back. Here's a couple of tips for some retention strategy. So set your own customer expectations. Know what those are. It could be as simple as I have a call return policy of 3 hours if your call is going to voicemail. Email, same platform. What is your expectation? And you need to promote that. You need to know that you will get back to your customers need to know that you will get back to them within a certain time frame, which is realistic. Never overpromise and underdeliver to set those customer expectations. And become their trusted advisor. Yes, is this an investment in your time? Without a doubt. But you are going to have customers who want to call and ask for that advice. And if you've taken the time to give it to them, you are now deemed or looked at as a trusted advisor, as opposed to a provider of a product or a service. Use those relationships to build trust. Take a proactive approach to customer service. So quite often, if we know there has been a hiccup in our business, so maybe you didn't get delivery of your product in time, or maybe you had an employee call in sick who was supposed to return all the customer emails, take a proactive approach to that customer service. And it's up to you to know, okay, what is plan B? I'm going to now pick up the phone and find all those voicemails and call all those customers myself. Or if I knew I had delivery of a product that was supposed to come in tomorrow, but you now know it's not coming in for another week, it's up to you to do those outbound calls to that customer. And again, that's when you build their trust. Use social media to build relationships. It really is a great idea, especially for all of you who have such an amazing business model with the giving back and the community piece. Let people know that that is part of your business model. Don't be shy. That's where they're going to build into those spaces. Go the extra mile, make it personal. Again, upsell and cross-sell, rounding out an account truly does equal retention. And building a sense of community, just like we chatted about. I'm an advocate for building relationships in my community where I am a trusted advisor. So the business naturally comes to me. I don't ask for it. I just build a sense of community and become that person, that point person that they come out to. So, the myth is an organization will traditionally spend more money on customer acquisition because they view it as a quick, effective way of increasing revenue. The fact is, customer retention often is faster and on average costs up to 7 times less than customer acquisition. So if you're looking for a quick win, customer acquisition, perfect, but it's the retention that's going to allow you to grow. Let's talk about how we can measure customer retention. So here's a little formula that you may choose to use in your business. This is a little more of the technical side as opposed to the relationship soft skills. So this is a very traditional model that we've seen used in the banking business for a few years, but it certainly can be used in small business operations. So if you look at CE, which is the number of customers at the end of a period, and you subtract the number of new customers that you acquired during a period, and then you look at the number of new customers at the start of the next period. So to kind of keep it simple, if you start any given period, so let's say January 1 with 200 customers, and you lose 20, but you gained 40, at the end of that period, you now have 220 customers. So when you pop it into the formula, your retention is 90%. So when we go back to talking about what is your retention goal, if you've actually never really thought about what that looks like, it's a good consideration using this formula, and it can be just kept as simple as this. Let's talk about some of these stats that actually speak for themselves. So 89% of your customers have stopped doing business with a company after experiencing poor service. It goes down to the bottom right-hand side where it says 55% of your consumers will pay more for a better customer experience. Again, that equals customer retention. 86% of the buyers will pay more for better customer service, but only of the customers that feel the vendor consistently met their expectations. And really, there's another little formula out there, and it's not in the PowerPoint, but it's a customer value side. So customer value really does equal the benefits less the cost of acquiring that customer. And it's a great little formula. And when we talk about the customer experience, and I'm sure for yourselves, even personally on a personal level, you would pay more for a better customer experience, that trusted advisor, that person who's going to guide you through that customer journey, than you would for the cheapest price for the shoppers. Here's a 3C model. So again, learned this back in marketing class in college, the 3 C's. So it points out that a business should focus on 3 key factors for success in their business strategy. So the 3 main players are your customer, your cooperators, and your company, big or small. So customers is pretty straightforward. When we look at the cooperators, these are your collaborators, and these are the ones that are going to generate those referrals. So going back to what we chatted about earlier, you may have a collaborator who doesn't necessarily have the best product for that customer, and they actually refer it back to your business. So building that community of collaborators or cooperators is really a great experience, and the customer will carry that through their journey. The company, big or small, so this is, whether you're a large organization or whether you're a small one, it hands true to how you should look at the company. So, we quite often focus on the customer, which is the external piece of the customer journey, but what about the internal piece? So this may be your employees, your staff, your family. For us, it might be any different departments. It could be vendors or suppliers. Those are really important relationships, and it's up to you to foster those because they will help you build your business. Quite simply, if you've got a great relationship with some of your vendors, or suppliers of your product, they will be the first one to help you with that delayed delivery, which is going to jeopardize that customer experience. So 3 C's, again, learned this very early on. If you practice this and always think, okay, who's my customer? What's my community of collaborators and cooperators? And who internally is making my business successful? Here's an interesting one that is another passion for mine. So, we typically would look at a difficult customer as a bad experience, and quite often I run into people, my colleagues, who procrastinate on dealing with these particular situations. But if you change the label from difficult to different, it really now becomes your learning opportunity. I never refer to a complaint as a negative. I refer to it as concern, and I refer to it as just a learning opportunity for me, both as a person and for us as a business. So let's take a look at what that might look like. What is a different customer? And how do we deal with that? So a different client or customer might say to you, you don't know the answers, or you don't have the answers to the customer question. Or it might be a situation where you have to say no to that customer request. And sadly, we do. We can't be everything to everybody. Another motto of mine, you can't be everything to everybody, but nobody can. Your computer is slow. That is a complaint that we traditionally hear, and unfortunately is unacceptable to the customer. As the customer grows impatient, the customer may be making an unrealistic request, and granted, seen them, and I'm sure you have as well. The customer doesn't seem to believe you. This is definitely an opportunity. The customer is angry, another opportunity, and the customer doesn't want to give you the information you need. So how do we deal with all of this? Really, it comes down to having that positive attitude, listening to your customer, and those are soft skills that we all learn through high school. Don't interrupt and let them vent. So quite often, there may be staff members who don't allow the customer to vent, and they are constantly interrupting the dialogue, which quite honestly is irritating the customer even further. Avoid being condescending. So when we work, live, and play in a very diverse culture, a diverse environment of, things that we can be more cognizant of. So avoid being condescending, whether it's a language barrier, whether it's a disability. You don't know whether the gentleman on the other end of the phone has a hearing aid. So it's not that he's being difficult. It's just that, you just need to work through what some of those are. Again, be empathetic, not sympathetic. Demonstrate your knowledge. Don't hesitate to let them know in a very empathetic yet not condescending manner that you actually understand their frustrations. Here's your greatest opportunity is resolution. There are always options, and I fondly refer to it to plan A and plan B. And plan B may be as simple as referring it to one of your colleagues in your community. But there is always a resolution. Actively problem solve together. So getting to know the customer and what that is, and a meeting of the minds. So just a quick example. I had a customer, incredibly intelligent man. And we were in a situation where regretfully we weren't able to renew his policy. But he wanted to understand. He really wanted to understand why. And because we're, somewhat regulated in our industry, it was 17 phone calls. I invested in 17 phone calls with this gentleman who was so grateful for just the time and the education, understanding his position, and helping him find a resolution. So at the end of the day, I didn't keep him as a customer, but I kept him as a referral. And that was just by my investment in time, educating and helping him to understand, because he truly did want to. So these are opportunities for growth, not only for your business, for yourself, for your employees, as you move forward. Make the customer experience part of the solution. So quite often, a lot of businesses will, take the customer experience from that different customer and just squash it aside, that you can't please everybody all the time. Really sit down and take note of what that customer had to share with you. He's giving you the opportunity. And quite often I say to a customer when I am dealing with one of those different situations, I thank them for taking the time to share that with me. It helps me to grow our business. It helps me to train our staff. It helps me to understand maybe where there is a gap in our business model that will allow me to grow our business. This is an important one, and I do say this all the time, both as a consumer and as a business person. The customer may not always be right. However, the customer is still the customer. And I think we need to keep that in mind as we go through that journey into the customer experience. A little bit about community, and I know that this is a great passion for you guys and for myself as well. Of those who experience positive social care, 71% are likely to recommend that brand to others. It is a dynamic environment that I really truly believe in. And, I took some time to kind of look into to the SSE platform and to what all of you are doing, in various spaces and spaces I hadn't even thought of. But interesting stat, overall 66% of mid-sized business owners say they are seeking to establish or improve their corporate social responsibility efforts to their businesses and in the community. So a couple of really great examples, and I know there's many more, and I'm excited to see them as we go through, as we change in society. I just saw a commercial on TV the other day that talked about an organization where if you buy some of their socks, then a percentage of the proceeds go to help the homeless who wouldn't necessarily have those warm socks. And I'm sure that's a great platform that all of you already buy into. So thank you to all of you for building your businesses, and giving it back. So great job. And I encourage you to brand it. Even look at the brand down the side. Do Good by Us. Just really great opportunities for you guys to build your brand, to actually engage that philanthropic piece that you guys already believe in. So your benefits of social responsibility and your customer, again, it's going to be reflective of things of trust. So we go back to being that trusted advisor, the trust, the compassion, the respect. It does set you aside from your competition who may not otherwise be in a giving back kind of platform environment. It creates a wonderful opportunity for you guys to network and share your position. And there are so many customers growing in this space that it is a missed opportunity if you are not sharing with them what your social responsibility component is of your business plan. It's not marketing. All of this will automatically generate business for you. Sense of goodwill and sustainability, and again, your reputation and your brands. On a final note, as we're getting ready to close, I just wanted to share this one last screen with all of you, with just some of my words of experience and how fortunate and blessed I am by kind of practicing some of these very simple things through my journey. Some of them are going to be rehashed from the presentation today. Nonetheless, it's not about your time to sell, it's about their time to buy. So I hang on a philosophy that says I could push and spend a ton of money in marketing dollars to try to close a sale. But quite frankly, if it's not their time to buy, then they're not going to sell. It's my opportunity to stay at the forefront when it is their time to buy. Again, always let the customers talk about themselves. So I quite often will go out for lunch with a customer or meet them for a coffee, or even at community events, and I let them talk about themselves. I know more about them than they will ever know about me. And quite honestly, it allows me to know if little Johnny's off to college, or if maybe the customer's become a grandparent, or they're looking to retire, succession planning. Be a better listener than a talker. And another one, stay true to yourself and own it. The good, bad, and the ugly. So when you've had an amazing customer testimonial or a great customer experience, share it, embrace it. There are going to be those times that maybe you don't. And again, it's that different customer where you're taking the learning opportunity, but you need to take ownership of that. Be available and responsive. Always have plan B and give your customer options, even if the option is not your business, but one of those in your community. Continue to learn and grow from others, and grow and learn from your customers. Listen to what their needs are, and you can have a ton of takeaways from one simple phone call. Learn from others in your community, learn from others, other collaborators. Never overpromise and underdeliver, probably the worst mistake most make, just because they're looking to close that sale on the customer acquisition journey. Here's another one that I really do try to stay true to, is avoid the use of but, just, or wait. Those can somewhat be viewed as a negative. So by just changing those few words can turn the whole dynamic of the customer relationship into a positive, especially on the phone. Nobody likes to hear but. Nobody likes to hear wait or just. It's like, how does that one individual feel when they go to a restaurant and they're a single and the hostess says just one? Look at the word wait. You can go out for dinner again, and the hostess can choose to say to you, your table is going to be a 20-minute wait, instead of saying your table will be ready in 20 minutes. When we look at alternatives for but, think about maybe just changing it to slightly like however or nonetheless, because but means it's a hard stop, and there's a roadblock to that customer relationship. Always view customer feedback as your friend, and it truly is. The customer may not always be right, however, the customer is still the customer. And demonstrate an authentic interest in your customer as an individual. And that's getting to know them if they're that grandparent, or if they're going off vacation, or they're retiring. All of these will help you when it comes to things like, decision makers for your business. You don't know when they're going to retire, when there's a promotion, or change in a career, something to that effect. Make it a great day. So instead of saying have a great day, I tag make it a great day on all my email subject lines, because I truly want everybody to have a great day. Some just very quick examples of how I achieve these goals. I've committed to doing 2 handwritten thank you notes per week, referencing a great customer experience. So whether it's been a lunch or a coffee or a great telephone conversation, or a customer called and said, oh, I'm just so, over the moon thrilled with the experience, do a handwritten thank you note. An email is so carte blanche and impersonal. A handwritten thank you note, cheap as heck to get. Retirement congratulation gifts, reach out for those milestones. Listen to your client. If you know that they're retiring, reach out to them, happy retirement. Get to know the support teams. So in our world, for example, the receptionists or the admin support staff are the biggest influencers. They are going to be the ones that are going to influence that next leader in that decision-making process. Love this one. Reach out randomly for no other reason than because. So I called a client the other day while I was driving to another client, and she's like, Yvonne, did I forget to get you something, or what's wrong? And I'm like, no reason, just because. LinkedIn and Facebook, it's your friend, use it wisely. Sharing a feel-good message on a regular basis could even be a good joke, just to give them a little chuckle randomly. I'm a huge advocate for education in our space, and I encourage you to do the same. Share an industry tip you come across that will benefit your customer. Show caring thought for a lost customer. So for example, I had a customer I did lose, and regretfully it was due to a replacement due to an illness. But I reached out to that customer and really just, I reached out to the new lead to ask how he was doing, and I won the business back. Didn't happen overnight, but I won it back 6 months later. Building relationships through your community. One of my fellow Rotarians, looked at me one day and said, how do you know everybody? Like, how do you know everybody? And I said to her, I stay true to myself. I'm not trying to be anything I'm not. Stay true to yourself. The last 2 I'm going to leave you with. So I'm not sure if any of you have heard of the Fred Factor, Becoming a Fred. And it's a little short read from Chapters, Inexpensive, by Mark Sanborn. And it's really about making the ordinary extraordinary. They are true life examples of the very simple little things that build those customer relationships and have a lifelong impact on that customer to become your best fan and referral, and to also be that advocate for your business or product. The last one, if you've never seen Johnny the Bagger video, you have to watch it. This is truly a very inspirational video about how one person in a small community can make a huge difference in so many people's lives through their business. Great opportunity for that. So just on closing, the best advice I can share with you from the customer relationship piece is know your customers, stay involved, focus on retention, come up with a retention goal, use the formula to kind of keep you on track with that. Stay true to yourself with trust and integrity. and definitely just stay connected with your customer. Once the sale is done, don't walk away. Other than that, I know I've probably gone over a little bit of my time, but I truly, truly, truly do thank each and every one of you for allowing me the opportunity to present my journey in the customer relations piece. And again, I hope you take away at least one or two things that will help you build your business, both personally and professionally. So thank you so much. And back to you, Marjorie.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Yvonne. We have a couple minutes left to be able to field questions from everyone on the webinar. So if you have a question, please type it into the chat function, or use *9 on the phone to raise your hand. And I will just say that Ohema has written, wow, this was really informative. And so you just got some customer feedback.
Great, I love customer feedback.
Thank you, Ohema. That's very valuable. Any questions that you want to ask? Okay, well, I will just start, because there were a few that came in prior to the call. And so one question is, what is the how do you immediately understand what a customer values? So this is, they walk in, do you just start grilling them? What's the best way?
You know what? All honesty is so incredibly simple. And, I encourage you to practice this with your family as well, because it will help you get into that space. But when we look at immediately understanding what a customer values, and it is as simple as listening to them. It is simple as listening to them, asking questions. So as you're chatting, and have a real authentic conversation. When they believe that you believe in them, they will share exactly what their values are, both on a personal and professional level. And it will allow you to drill down exactly how you're going to meet that customer need or the KYC platform.
I just love to jump in there. One of the techniques that we share with students in our classroom is the practice of 5 whys, or 5 hows or whats. But basically, when someone says, I like your product or I like this class because blah, blah, blah. And then you say why, and then you keep asking why over and over and over until you kind of get to the deepest level, because often the sort of initial responses that people give are relatively superficial. But when you finally get down to the bottom, which is, I just like the way you make me feel, or I feel like when I come here, I can hold my head up high, something like that, right? So this is something that I would recommend, that people spend a lot more time just asking 5 follow-up questions to any one thing, and you'll find out that you realize much more. You get a lot more insight.
You absolutely do, and I couldn't agree with you more, Marjorie. And again, it's about spending the time. Quite often we get into situations when we're looking at that customer, but we get distracted, and we don't give ourselves the time to do those whys, to actually drill down to exactly what their values are. So it's really, really important to kind of stay focused. And another great opportunity and growth tool for a lot of businesses, and we do have a platform like that here at Johnson's as well, but we talk about net promoter scores or poll machines.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a couple of questions came in on that. I can't advocate more for those positions. They are going to be what is going to help you grow your business, and it is constructive feedback, and it will allow you to grow in a quick snapshot.
Yeah. So for those of you who are not familiar with that, the Net Promoter Score is a customer satisfaction tool that really just involves one question. You don't need to ask people, 25 questions about your product, because it actually can drive your customers crazy. And when I say customer, I mean it can be your participants, your clients, whoever you are serving. And if you ask the question, would you recommend this experience to a friend? There is very strong evidence to show that the answer to that question is far, far more predictive of actually how happy the person is with it. And we've done a webinar on the Net Promoter Score. If there's demand from this group, we would be happy to offer it again. And it's a very simple tool. It's essentially the same thing that you see when you leave a store and it has like 3 happy faces, or a happy, sad, and a sort of neutral face around the experience, and that gives you a sense of essentially the Net Promoter Score. So we are sort of at time, but I see a question. So why don't we just take this last question? This comes from Omar. Many of the customers I work with usually connect with me through an online application form. Any thoughts on how to make this first point of contact for people reaching out to us more human?
Interesting dialogue, interesting question. And I think, Omar, you're so correct when you need to take that standard document per se that anybody else can do and actually find your space in that. So, could it be an introduction to the application online? So instead of just the application or visit me at, take some time to tell them in the opening statement what you do, why you do it, how you do it. And maybe I'll give them an option, huge advocate for options here, give them an option to reach out to you via email. Should they have a particular question. There's nothing more frustrating from a consumer buying experience to get one of these online apps and you're kind of juggling with what it is. Maybe you drill down the questions a little more so you have a comment section as opposed to just standard fill in the spaces 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm a huge advocate for the thank you. So if they're doing an online application, is there an email, that a more personal email that goes back to the customer that's applying that says, thank you so much, myself and your name at such and such a business, we're thrilled to receive your application and I will get back to you within 2 hours, 3 business days, whatever your business model looks like.
All right, well, on that note, we are at time. And so just want to thank you again, Yvonne, for a really, really informative presentation. I feel like I really want to recommit to figuring out our customer acquisition cost, our retention rates, and now we have a formula for that and lots of really great tips. So thank you everyone for your participation on the call. And if you are interested in the Net Promoter Score webinar, we're happy to put that on again for everyone. Thank you so much and take care and have a great day.
Thank you all.
Oh, make it a great day.
Make it an awesome day.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.